Health Board is going to begin now on June 3rd, 4 o'clock. We have a quorum, so let's have a call to order and a roll call, please.
Mr. Arnold?
I'm here.
Mr. Albright?
Here.
Ms. Banks? Ms. Bell?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Carter? Ms. Clark? Dr. Alhide? Here. Ms. Friedman? Reverend Gordon?
Here.
Ms. Harding? Ms. Howe? Ms. Mendoza Locke?
Here.
Ms. Rodriguez? Here. Dr. Scott? Major White? Here.
Thank you. Let's have the recognition of visitors, starting with Richard.
Candidates for staff?
Robert, staff.
Julie Rook, board staff.
That was a little bit of a change.
All right. Have you had a chance to look at the minutes of the May 6th meeting that Christina chaired? Any questions, comments? Motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Jenny, let's move to financial.
Financial statements for April are on page 8. We received our rollback levy funds in April, and the local levy revenue is right at like 100% of our budget on a fiscal year-to-date basis. And I don't anticipate any more significant revenue coming in there, so that's likely where we're gonna end. In the other variances, it's pretty much the same as I've been saying for the last couple of months. So in miscellaneous revenue, you see that just over $2.1 million. And then you also see down in grant-funded program expenses, a significant portion of that is Danny's Place, mostly because at the beginning of the project, we didn't know how it was gonna fall. So the project overall is on budget, but between fiscal years, it's not necessarily. A couple other notable variances are due to some Ohio Moss funding that we likely are gonna have underspent and will be requesting carryover. Some of that is recovery housing, access to wellness programs that I've done before. And for the month of April, we received quarterly allocations from Ohio Moss. And with the local levy revenue, we had an increase in net assets of 1.6 million. On the balance sheet on page 9, it's pretty much the same in cash because of the levy funds and the quarterly allocations from Ohio Moss. We also had receipt of some Danny's Place reimbursement from Ohio Moss. So we had a significant increase in cash. And then you see in accounts receivable, a significant decrease because we had those Danny's Place reimbursements in accounts receivable until we received it. And so that was removed from accounts receivable. Then at the end of April, our non-designated board fund balance is just over 19.7 million. And there are payments on pages 10 and 11 and a motion on page 7.
Is there any questions for Jenny about the financial statements? Motion has been suggested. It's at the very bottom of page 7. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Elijah, civil commitments, I believe, is next.
Yes, we'll turn to page 12 of your packet. This is the time of year that we bring the designation of pre-screeners and attorneys to you. So Ohio Revised Code authorizes the board to designate entities that are responsible for completing voluntary and involuntary admissions. So this is kind of a lengthy motion, obviously, because it's taking up more than half the page. But you'll see that in this motion, you're authorizing ZEP to complete voluntary admissions to the state hospital, the Northwest Ohio Behavioral Health Care. Then you're authorizing these hospitals to conduct involuntary admission evaluations. Arrowhead, Medical Flower, University of St. Charles Behavioral Health Institute, Zeph Center to do involuntary admissions for evaluations for the State Hospital, Toledo Children's, University of Toledo Medical Center, Kobecker Center, University of Toledo Medical Center Senior Behavioral Health, Assurance Health, and Core Diagnostic and Treatment Centers to do those involuntary admissions to the hospitals. And then finally, authorizing Zeph Center to complete affidavits referred by probate court. Following that is the authorization to continue our contract with our attorneys to represent clients in court who are part of that probate process. You'll see Carla Davis and Esther there, and they are good with continuing. We've been working with them for a number of years now, and they are both good with continuing doing their work for us. Any questions? Yeah.
On subpart double I, should that be officer instead of authors?
Probably. You noticed that this year, but that is the same as last year.
Well, you get by me once, but not twice.
And just for the record, that they're not doing it for $18. They're doing it for $18,000. It's in the write-up above.
Oh, I was hoping for $18, but not that lucky.
All right, well, we'll consider the motion to be amended to read correctly chief clinical officers. Are there any other questions?
Question,
Comments?
question.
Discussion? Yeah.
I understand that the attorneys are fee-based. Is that, am I missing something on Zeph? Is that fee-based or volunteer?
For Zeph, that is part of their responsibility as a crisis provider.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Absolutely. Okay, so we have this lengthy motion that takes up 2/3 of page 12, but I think we can take it all together because it all relates to one topic. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Elijah, you have the hospital access funds as well.
Yeah, so back in September, we brought these funds to you. These are funds from the State Department to really pay for inpatient stays for those who are without insurance. At the time, we were really focusing these funds on our pilot project with Mercy to take people out of the jail who are evaluated to be incompetent, unrestorable, and use these funds along with ARPA funds to pay for their stay there. We've not gotten as many referrals as we anticipated for that project. And the referrals we have had insurance, so we haven't had to use these funds to the extent. So we, within that motion, back in September, we went through and paid Mercy for patients who were admitted from January to now who don't have insurance, as the guidance provided by Ohio MAS. This motion is to allow ProMedica to be part of that pool of funding to do the same thing. We want to try to maximize utilization of these funds, so we don't know the status of them, if we'll have to return it to the state. The state has been asking for some of these monies back because other counties have been utilizing their full allocation. So this motion is really about allowing ProMedica Flower Hospital to go through their records and those who have been admitted, who have been uninsured in our Lucas County residents, we can use these funds to pay for those stays from January through the end of June.
Do we have any speculation as to why the referrals were lagging?
Yeah, so we have a monthly meeting with the partners and timing. Sometimes there are a number of referrals. When we kind of got the project up and going and everybody on board, they just didn't have as many referrals as who qualified for the program. The caveat for that program is incompetent, unrestorable, and nonviolent. So there are a number of violent people who have violent histories that might have qualified but haven't qualified because of the stipulation. So it's really about timing and, you know.
We've lost a few through the process as well, learning the new process. And, you know, some were let out, others were allowed to be transported by somebody other than the jail. You know, just some other nuances that are always consistent with the new program and new protocols.
So we think that by bringing more players to the table, in the sense of more facilities to the table, that we'll be able to increase the number of referrals.
So it won't be referrals for the pilot project. We still have that project going on. We won't utilize the full funding unless we bring in ProMedica to help utilize that.
So that's what I mean by play, like ProMedica, by bringing them and getting referrals from them as well, then we know.
No, they're not connected.
Oh,
We have the hospital access program for the pilot,
okay,
which he described. And then we have indigent hospital access funds, for lack of a better term, that are also associated with this project now. And these are use it or lose it funds.
okay.
So if we don't bring ProMedica in, there's a good chance that we'll have to send all that money back.
Okay.
So why not compensate them for care that they provided to Lucas County residents that they haven't been compensated for? That's really what we're trying to do.
And so will Mercy also be able to utilize those same funds for those same people who, the same as ProMedica, Mercy can also utilize? Okay, thank you.
Do we have any sense of the magnitude of what the reimbursement will be back to January 1?
For Mercy, we've had those billings and it's been around 34,000. ProMedica has sent us what they would bill and it's less than that, but I don't remember the specific number.
I think it's 20.
Yeah.
20,000.
Just to get people out of jail to do these things.
No, this particular motion, including ProMedica, is just for people who were admitted without a payer source and are Lucas County residents.
Nothing to do with the jail. Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
So it sounds like we still may not meet that number. Will we be returning those dollars?
Potential,
Actually, if we don't meet that, I mean.
the potential is
we're
there.
talking so it's a back pay basically of January to now through June 30.
Yes.
We can't go past the fiscal year.
And I assume we're
Right.
keeping an eye on referrals, but, for the next 4 weeks, so.
Yeah, I mean, we won't know until they have people in their units, and then they go through their process of if they've been able to identify a payer source or not.
But they can go back to January 1, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
That's good.
a good point, yeah.
And if, since it's a timing issue with the jail and the referrals, if you're getting requests for funds from both sources, the jail and otherwise, does the jail take, if it's gonna come up to our dollar amount, are the jail referrals gonna take priority over the non-jail? Does my question make sense?
So
Go ahead.
we don't anticipate getting to that point. We had one referral this week. And so we have about 4 more weeks with this funding for that project. So we could potentially hospitalize a lot more people than we'll have referrals for. I think we've been averaging one every 4 to 5 weeks.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? There's a motion toward the top of page 13. You have a motion?
Remove.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Health officer designation, Elijah.
Yeah, so we had our health officer meeting a few weeks ago, our advisory meeting, and we reviewed the applications for 7 new health officers and 5 renewal applications. You'll see them in the motion. We are still collecting the demographics, and we'll be reporting those every few months to try to show more of a, hopefully a bigger change than from month to month. I will say that with the change in policy, Zeph Center does the training for health officers, and we're gonna schedule a new one to allow those LPNs who might qualify to be health officers to do that. So we'll be anticipating more health officers coming into the system in the next few months. And then you'll see that motion at the bottom of page 13.
So motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion on health officers is passed. Scott, more on Danny's place.
Well, thank you. Meeting's moving right along, isn't it? Let me see if I can slow it down a little bit for you guys. All right, so here's what we got going on. Danny's Place Artwork Consultant Award. On April 30th, we released or solicited proposals for consulting, acquisition, and installation services of artwork and the development of the donor wall and Danny's story wall for Danny's Place. Bids were solicited from 3 vendors. Responses were due back by the 16th. In response, we received 2 bids, and both met the preliminary requirements for review. A side-by-side comparison of the bids made by the review committee were made by the review committee, and in the end, the committee recommended an entity called Brenda Cruz Gallery to be considered for an award not to exceed $48,500. The gallery met all the requirements of the bid specs. Additionally, they have considerable work related to health facilities. They had really strong references. They're Ohio registered women-owned business enterprise, and unlike the alternate bidder, they had an artistic flair that the committee really wanted to cultivate within Danny's Place. So that they brought some skills that the other bidder didn't have. The problem is, and you probably noticed by the short time frame that we solicited the bids, that we're under a very short window to get the artwork selected, ordered, and then in place in time to keep the process of opening Danny's Place by the end of September in place. So this contract didn't align up with this board process because it would have been 3 weeks longer because we don't technically do final approval until June 17th. So I took the unusual action of approving a $24,000 allocation under my executive director discretion, since the money was already allocated by this board to Danny's Place, and I was authorized to enter into contracts for the support of Danny's Place. I normally don't do that because it looks like bid splitting, and I just think transparency-wise, it's not a good practice. which is why I'm bringing it here today, so we can be fully transparent in what occurred. And what I'm asking you to do is approve the contract for Brenda Cruz Gallery up to 48.5. Now, if you decide you don't want to do that, the bid can easily be split for the artwork, which is the 24,000 that allowed us to go, and the donor wall and Danny's Place wall, which is the remainder of the allocation. So we're not, I understand that it's kind of looking like it may be forcing your hand a little bit, but there is some options for you that if you just say, no, we don't want to do that, we can move forward with the artwork and then regroup on the other two items. But
The question is, why shouldn't we want to do that?
well, I know sometimes I don't want to paint you guys in a corner, which this kind of did. So I just want to make sure that you understand that you do have some discretion. That's all.
Where's the gallery located?
Gallery is in Columbus. It's a Columbus facility.
Not Toledo.
No, it's not in Toledo. Yes, sir.
So the $24,000 is included in that larger 48,000.
That is correct. Yes. And this money has already been allocated in the bigger pool. So it's not an additional allocation. You're just, because the contract is over $25,000, you have to do approval.
And you said it was a women-owned bid.
Yes, it is.
So it's donor wall and then artwork throughout the facility.
So it's three things. It's the artwork throughout the facility, the development of the donor wall, and the development of what they're calling Danny's Place story wall.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
The artwork will the gallery have sole discretion?
No, we would never give sole discretion to that. We have a committee made up of, I think Charletta's on it, I'm on it, Charletta who works here, I'm on it. Then our owner's rep, the designer, Brooke from NAC, and Raven from NAMI, Ohio.
And do we know whether this is like, the artwork is gonna be, for lack of a better term, stock things, or are they original pieces?
So that's what's going to be discussed. And by the way, I can't believe I forgot, Donna and Jeff Hecker are also on the committee. There's like 20, I guess I can look, there's 28 pieces of art throughout the facility. And there is a desire to utilize some of Danny's youngest sister's photography work in the facility. So what pieces, what the themes are, what it looks like, all of that is in the committee process.
I would encourage, if I may, that in selecting the artwork, that some thought and consideration be given to diversity of subject matter as well as, type photography versus, painting or, whatever other medium there is, as well as diversity in the artist.
Thank you for that. Yes, I entirely agree.
I mean, under the same tone, I think the culture of healing should be represented. I mean, I'm sure that this is what they do for a living, so. But like, for example, in an early childhood space, there's a specific type of art that lends to development and learning. So obviously, our hope is that it would be based towards and geared towards healing and an atmosphere and a culture of healing.
I think so far, what I was able to see, the fixtures, some of the things that are very modern, and Danny's sister was at the open house, definitely stated, this is definitely Danny. Danny would have picked this. These lights, oh, Danny loved this. I mean, she would, and so I really see that in the facility. And she made, there was a sister from California. She made a lot of remarks during the whole, tour, and I just happened to be near her when she was speaking. So, so far, I mean, I thought it was beautiful what's there, and, they were really, going along, they were really pleased what they saw.
And I trust because what you guys are talking about is that it's not gonna be what you would traditionally find in any hospital. And is there just in a conversation, an opportunity to pay tribute to the original inhabitants of the land in one, at least one artwork, that's all I would ask. But I'm not on the committee and I trust you.
Are you talking about individuals that were in the hospital?
That and the indigenous population.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
And
I thought that,
Yeah, both,
I was
both
thinking,
and.
I was thinking one or the other, but yeah.
Because, there is some history in both of those things in that earth, right? And so just to keep that in mind. As long as they're not like what you'd find when you get out the hospital at medical.
Right.
Stop.
That's what I was trying to say too.
I think the tone and tenor of the conversation is we want Danny's place to be representative of all the residents that will be living there, not just Danny Lee Hill.
And we want it to be meaningful.
I think that's excellent input.
Question,
Committee's got.
should the resolution include something about the 24,000 that was previously allocated? I mean, is that to restore the 24?
It doesn't have to because I haven't signed a contract for it yet. So 48,000 is inclusive.
But is the intent to restore the 24,000 back to?
The money hasn't been transferred, it hasn't been gone, I've just given them the verbal okay, get moving.
Oh, okay, no contract, okay.
No contract, nothing.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? There's a proposed motion 2/3 of the way down on page 14. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, Julie, I think you're gonna talk to us about the culture of quality.
I am, thank you very much. I said before, I'm Julie Ruck, the Manager of Quality and Evaluation here at the Recovery Services Board. And we are in the beginning stages, middle stages of preparing for the Culture of Quality review that will be coming up October 14th and 15th. And the Culture of Quality is a program led by the Ohio Association of County Behavioral Health and Authorities, or OACPA. And the purpose of that is to enhance the quality, accountability, and consistency of Ohio's county boards that oversee the local alcohol, drug addiction, and mental health services. So all the county board, well, I don't know if all of them, but some of them go through this process.
38 of 50.
38 of 50. Thank you, Scott. To make sure that we're all doing the same things all around the state of Ohio. It also uses a continuous quality improvement model and aims to balance standardized practices with flexibility to meet local needs, ensuring compliance with the Ohio Revised Code. So what that means is you guys have been approving a lot of our policies and procedures as you're going to look through and see some more presented in a few minutes. We currently have 118 policies for review during this period. We are 33% of the way completed from last month and the previous month. And then there are, so the culture of quality is broken down into 9 sections with a total of 155 standards. So in order to meet the culture of quality, we have to meet all 155 standards. And there are several sections in that. There's 9 sections, and I can read those if you guys would like, so you can see what we're up to, or I can. Yes. Okay, section 1 is public affairs, education, community relations, policy, and advocacy. And there's 16 standards to meet in that section. Section 2 is risk management and insurance, and there's 9 standards to meet in that section. Section 3 is board health and safety, and there's 13 standards to meet in that section. Section 4 is human resources, and there's 12 standards to meet. Section 5 is missions and programs, and there's 49 standards to meet in that section. Section 6 is governance, and there's 16 standards. Section 7 is board finance and operations, and there's 33 standards. Section 8 is ethics, and there's 4 standards. And section 9 is additional standards, and there's 5. And then each standard is broken down with a conformance, documentation of evidence, self-assessment, and then why are we meeting those standards? That's what we're working on and doing all the policy reviews for. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments about Julie's report? Okay, thanks. All right, now we move on to the actual policy reviews. As I understand it, they're in 3 buckets, finance, services basically, and social media. And I think Jenny has the finance, there's 5 of them.
The policies for finance start on page 16. This is 5 more of mine. I think last month I brought you 10. I think I have another 10 to go. So we're getting there. On the cash receipts policy, very simple changes, titles, and then on number 2, a clarification of checks can't be left in the mailroom or on an employee desk unsecured. That's the only significant change on the cash receipts policy. On contract administration, again, just updating Board of Trustees versus MHRSB and position titles. On project labor agreements, we're proposing no changes. And then provider eligibility for board-funded services, this is on page 22. Update to positions, Ohio MOS to Ohio Behavioral Health. And we also added a few additional requirements. So you'll see A, B, an edit in D, and E are additional requirements we're adding. And then the last policy that I had is on page 25. It was previously called request for proposals, and we are proposing to change that to competitive bidding. Again, just name changes, and then we made significant changes to align with ORC 34036 proposed changes. And I can answer any questions anybody has on any of those. Yes.
So in terms of the funds, we're saying on a desk, can they be left in a desk drawer? Is that considered secured or?
We should clarify that wording. We do have some desk drawers that lock, so that would be acceptable. But in a desk drawer that does not lock is not acceptable. We'll clarify.
Any other questions for Jenny?
Under the PLA, is that the same provision there? I see there are no changes proposed, correct? Are we? So just a question, is this consistent with the counties? And also, if there's a combination of funding, i.e. some type of private funding, things of that sort, is that taken into consideration? How is that offset somehow or?
So, thank you for that question. We did some research on that because originally we thought that the county had a PLA policy. They do not. They included it in a purchasing workbook. So when we created the original PLA agreement, we basically sent it to the prosecutor's office and said, give us a PLA policy he matched it to the county process.
Yeah.
We went back and looked at that document in the county's purchasing and they match. Of course, we adapted it for us. So that's your first question. Yes, nothing has changed on that.
Thank you.
The second is this only relates to local levy funding. So if we give over $100,000 for capital improvements from our contracted agencies in local levy dollars, then this policy applies to that project.
So it's, again, project specific
Yes.
and fund based, okay, understand, thank you.
Any other questions?
And we'll fix the typo.
The manager of, I'm not seeing it, of contracts is a board
Yeah.
of
Yes,
employee.
yes. I
You?
supervise.
Letitia Williams.
Oh.
Ms. Williams.
Thank you. So
Any other thing, questions, comments? Okay, there is let's do these one at a time. There's a proposed motion in the middle of page 15. Let's get that out of the way for these policies and we'll move on to mission and programs. So this motion, if we approve it, we approve the 5 policies that Jenny has just described with the one clarification that has been made. Right? Is there a motion? Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, Elijah, let's go to page 27, I believe, for your policies.
Yep, so on page 27, you'll see the 4 policies here. You can review that on the other pages. There's not any major changes to these. The most major change would be in the accreditation and certification policy, other than updating the clarifying difference between MHRSB and MHRSB trustees, changing language from Ohio Department of Mental Health and Human Services to Ohio Behavioral Health. This one includes some clarifying which Ohio revised code we're referring to. So there was some moving around and we changed that in the policy. So the 4 policies, you'll see our accreditation, certification, mission, vision, and value statements, non-discrimination of funded agencies and services, and relationship with contract agencies. So again, no major changes to the policy or procedure, just clarifying some of the language around it. And there is a motion on page 27.
You know what the OAC 5122, et cetera, requires?
Yeah, this is the one that's requiring us that we contract with providers that are certified by the department.
And then apparently there's a it sets out the standards for that exemption. Is that right?
Yeah, do you know the exemptions? I can take a guess at them. Schools, health departments,
Yes.
coalitions. And I'm forgetting one.
But they're laid out in the OAC.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
For now.
Do we have any further comments, questions? We have a proposed motion in the middle of page 27. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? All right, that motion is approved, and that carries us through those 4 policies. And then we have one, I believe, last policy, which Steve is going to explain to us on social media.
On pages 33 to 39 of the packet is the update to the social media policy. The original policy was authored by myself back in 2022. It was accepted by the board in 2022. Significant policy updates, the changes that are most significant, and appropriately reflect the implementation of the infrastructure transformation projects. Its implementation, everything is now get changed. And previously, the platform we used to store information was local, security was handled here. And also updated policy, the policies were updated with like changes to various position titles. And on page 37, further procedures, which is not a policy per se, but the procedure specifies some of the required implied specified duties of both the communications and the senior technology analyst with regard to security, implementation, and storage. It can certainly just with this policy meets federal, state, local regulations, policies, and procedures. And it's long, it's a 6-page policy.
All right, well, there's a lot to these changes. People have had a chance to review them. Anybody have any questions or comments?
No, but I could definitely use that think, type, and post. Because sometimes I'm typing and all of a sudden I look down and it's like, what the heck did I put there? You know, your fingers kind of went crazy. So I like that. Think, type, and post.
Standard is how well I feel if it's printed in the blade. All right, so there are no further questions or comments. There's a motion for the top of page 33. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, we got through that. It's time for open session. Richard, you have your hand up. Go right ahead. Is there a
You have a microphone?
Well, that'll leave it to us, right? See if I get this right. Oh. For whatever reason, there were issues with the system, will pick you up and you'll be okay to speak up.
A lot going on at One Government Center. They are continuing to have attendance problems at City Council. Last Wednesday, they had a meeting on water rates. One woman stood up and said,
I was there.
she can't fill her swimming pool because of the price, but she's running out and sobbed. And her council had to bring out a tissue for her. They had a meeting on Thursday, and only one person showed up, one councilman showed up. Not the chair, not the vice chair. They heard a presentation on programs to help low-income obtain their first house. They're having all kinds of meetings over there, very sparse attendance. Yesterday, county commissioners met, board members here, Linda Howe and Danetta Carter, Jesus Salas, and Dan Lambert. Those are both reappointments. They will be awarding
And they will be awarding money to both ZEP Center and Unison for the Juvenile Justice Center. If I read correctly, I believe ZEP will get up to $15,000 and Unison will get up to $41,000. Here's a familiar address for you. They got to repair all the windows at 701 Adams. As long as that building's standing, they got to keep it safe. Windows are cracked, seals are fading. So they'll advertise to bid for somebody to come in and fix the windows at 701 Adams. As long as that building's standing, they've got to maintain it. It's a safety issue. Let's see. Next week, a very long agenda for the Plan Commission. Among the many items, there's a vacant daycare center at 539 Broadway. They'll be turning that into apartments. They'll need a zone change for that. There's an existing daycare at 2225 Dorr Street. They want to go from a type A to a type B to a type A. They would need a special use permit. The Plan Commission staff is recommending disapproval because they don't like their pick up and drop off plan, and they're going to recommend disapproval. I would hope that the that they can work something out and the Plan Commission can approve that. But they are going to approve an indoor water park for dogs. That's over on Secor in what is it, the Knights of Columbus building. If I understand correctly, they need a zone change. They'll have a great big track outside and they'll run the dogs around that, and then they'll bring them in and they can splash around in the water or something like that. I think that's probably going to be approved. The most interesting item is probably the Lucas County Commissioners want to knock down the building at 428 North 10th Street. That's the old CSI building. Estimated value of the building, 0. Estimated cost to renovate it, $35 million. And somebody from the history department at the library showed up and said it's on historic register. If I understand correctly, there's more than one list, and it leads to confusion. But it is on a list of historic buildings. So they delayed it for a month, and the county commissioners are going to submit their letter for a waiver or whatever, but they need to knock that building down. It can't be saved, and they will turn that into green space and parking for, I believe, both municipal and family court. That's a very long agenda. Next Thursday, not this Thursday, next Thursday at Plan Commission. Last Wednesday, I did attend the first meeting of the Lucas County Child Welfare Task Force. That's what they're calling it. I'm not calling it that. I'm calling it the conclave. That's what it reminds me of. And I have asked Commissioner Gherkin, when they're finished and they have their plan for Children's Services Board, can they arrange to have white smoke come out of the top of the building? I know it's not the Sistine Chapel, but it would be a nice touch to let everybody know we've got a new plan. As of right now, they will meet twice a month until November. And they've got their work cut out for them. They were more than a little concerned at the number of news media people that were there. I was the only audience member, but they had plenty of news media. And they wanted to discuss specific cases. And Pete Gherkin said, no can do. They've checked with the prosecutor. They will not be discussing specific cases. They will be discussing the agency and coming up with a plan. But at no point will they violate anybody's confidentiality or anything like that. And they will keep meeting, hopefully until November. Maybe, hopefully they will come up with a plan that will restore public confidence in Children's Services Board. And that brings me to this Thursday, the first of 2 meetings for the Levy Review Committee. They've got their work cut out for them. It'll be at 1:30 this Thursday, the 5th, and another one on Friday, the 13th at 1:30 down at Commissioners' Chambers. This is to hear the Children's Services Board 1.8 mil continuation levy last year of collection. If it does not pass, it will be extremely bad. I remember last year they were asking what gets cut if this doesn't pass, and they're not going to say that in a public meeting, but they said, yes, you will see some sort of cuts. And it would be very catastrophic for the agency and also affect a number of clients of this board if that doesn't pass. So the clock is ticking. They've got to have 2 meetings of the Levy Review Committee, then at least 2 meetings of the county commissioners. One to agree that it should be put on the ballot, and then they got to send it to the auditor, get the dollar amount, have it come back, and then officially place it on the ballot no later, I believe, than the first week of August. But that is a very important levy, and Children's Services Board is definitely an agency that we need badly. So that's a brief history of what's going on at Government Center. Thank you.
Adjourn.
Hold on, not quite yet.
Wait. I just wanted to talk about Danny's place, the open house.
What would you?
I was just gonna say that was, very well presented. You can go ahead if you
No,
want to
go
say
ahead.
something. Very well attended. I thought there was a lot of people there that, from various different agencies. The tour was really nice. It was, the rooms were very spacious. I really was impressed by the size of the room. And the division of where things are located was very well done. And obviously we walked through some stuff and not everything's done, but I'm looking forward to see the completion.
I do have one other thing. We cannot let this meeting go past without thanking our chair and our vice chair for their 2 years of service as committee chair and vice chair. I'll remind you that we have an executive and nominating committee next Tuesday where we will select new officers or nominate new officers for this committee and for board leadership. So
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Now we're adjourned.